Hello, it's been a while since I made any videos and I've kind of gotten tired of all of this, but I decided I was going to make this video thinking that it might actually help somebody. It would seem that mandatory mask wearing is now finally arrived in my area, meaning that I'm going to need to wear a mask to go get some groceries, which is pretty much the only place I've gone really since March. But anyway, throughout all of this, I was on various social media platforms, and there were a number of people talking about carbon dioxide poisoning by wearing face masks. And Twitter is a really good place for that kind of discussion. And some of them are saying, no, you're going to die if you wear face masks because of carbon dioxide poisoning, hypoxia, so on and so forth. But I didn't want to take what somebody on the internet had to say. I was kind of more interested in trying to approach this with a bit of a scientific angle. Anyways, a couple of days ago, I started a vacation, more like a staycation. And seeing that this was coming down the pike, I decided I was going to do a little bit of research to see how face masks can interfere with our breathing. And one of the links that I saw on Twitter happened to point to this YouTube video that has been taken down. But I've seen videos taken down, some of them for no real reason, and some of them for obvious reasons like this. So I decided to save a copy before they took it down. And this was the original video. Here they put a carbon dioxide monitor underneath his face mask, and they ask him to breathe for a few minutes, and then of course the number starts climbing up. I'm not going to try to analyze this video. I just thought that it was kind of interesting. I have seen a couple of videos that ran a similar experiment like this and said, oh, look at that, the carbon dioxide level is at toxic levels. But it's not the CO2 level that comes out of your mouth that matters, it's the CO2 level that is in your blood. And years ago, I had bought myself one of these things that has an O2 sensor on it. Unfortunately, the thing one day kind of died on me and it wouldn't accept the charge anymore. I think the charge circuitry on it kind of died on it. So I just put it in a recycle container that I have for dead electronics and whatnot. And then when the thing gets full, I take it somewhere to get recycled. But luckily, I still had it. This thing was unfortunately no longer functional, so I couldn't rely on it too much in the state that it was in. The first thing that I decided to try to do was to look at some of the other products available and see about buying something else. Nobody carried those around. They were only order online kind of thing. So if I had to order it and pick it up at Walmart or Best Buy, I might as well just buy it off of Amazon directly and have them ship it to my house. Since I was on my staycation and I didn't have a whole lot to do, I decided I was going to see if I could resurrect my old O2 activity meter. And I took it apart and I pulled the battery out, and I had another slightly larger battery, and I made a bit of a Frankenstein project out of it, and I charge it up by using my bench power supply. So I essentially now have something that kind of works. And I decided to use it Monday to go for a walk and kind of measure my activity and stuff like that. And I had a bit of a surprise when I was taking my O2 readings along my walk. So here are the readings, and this one really caught me off guard because all of the readings that I've seen were around the 97, 98% And to see this one at 94 really threw me off for a little bit. And I got to thinking about this a little bit. Here was the situation, and this is what I think happened. So I was walking along the bike path like this here, that would then follow along the side of this bus transit way here. And it goes underneath a highway over here. It's a 6-lane, 3 in each direction. And the highway is an overpass to the bus lane. There's a bus stop here underneath. And I think what happened was there's one of two possible explanations, or it could be a combination of the two. It happened to be that particular day, somebody decided to smoke a little bit of MJ, and I could have been holding my breath somewhat. And when I took the reading on the other side, of course, I was starving myself of oxygen. The other explanation could be that since this was in an underpass, that the buses going through here raised the carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide levels that just kind of sat there like a cloud, so that whenever I was underneath on the bike path along the side of it, of course I was breathing all of this in, and the whole area had lower oxygen level than open air. So that was the first surprise that I had, and I think that's probably the best explanation. The second surprise that I had was I decided this morning to do an exercise experiment, first without the mask, then with the mask. And of course, that was a bit of a surprise as well. And here are the O2 readings for the workout. And for a little bit more context, I started the workout over here, but you can see that the watch had a hard time locking onto my pulse rate, and it thought that my heart rate was higher than it really was. It should have been down over here somewhere. But I decided I was going to do a 30-minute workout, taking a reading every 7.5 minutes. The first one was about halfway through without wearing the mask. Then another 7.5 minutes, or about 15 minutes in, I took another reading. Then I put the mask on. Then 7.5 minutes later, with the mask on, I took a reading. I was a little bit surprised at the result, and I decided I was going to take another reading a few minutes later. And then finally, at the end of 30 minutes, or more like 31, because I figured a few seconds here and there along the way, taking multiple readings, I padded the thing out to about 31 minutes. I took the mask off again and got the same reading that I got over here. And so I decided I was going to do a few more minutes of exercise at this pace over here. So you can see that as time went on, my workout got a little bit harder and more intense. And then finally near the end, I was doing a fairly intense aerobic workout. So I decided to continue that pace that I was doing with the mask again after the mask, and for a few more minutes, and then I took one final reading, and that was the end of that particular exercise. So here are the results. So the first two readings, one at 7.5 minutes, the second at 15 minutes, the readings were at 98%. Then I put the mask on, and 7.5 minutes with the mask on, when I took the reading, I got 99%. And I thought that was very interesting. Certainly not what I had expected. So a few minutes later, I decided I was going to repeat and take another reading. And I saw that it was 97. So these readings could have been a low 98 this could have been a high 97. It doesn't really show the fractions. And then after 15 minutes of wearing the mask, I took another reading and I saw that it was 99% again. So I took the mask off, and another couple of minutes later, without the mask and at the same pace, near the end of this one. I took one last reading and I got 98%. So it seems that even though I was breathing harder through the mask, my oxygen level was actually higher than if I was not wearing it. And I made this diagram, and I'm not going to cover it too much, but in essence, you've got the blood that surrounds the alveoli. So I just kind of made one large alveoli instead of a bazillion of them. But if you've got an air sac and there's a membrane and blood is behind this membrane, when you breathe in, you're creating a vacuum to, of course, aspirate air. And what happens is it creates a low pressure in the air sacs so that the oxygen and the carbon dioxide that is saturating the blood can cross this membrane into the alveoli. And then when you exhale, the pressure required to push the air out will push some of the air and carbon dioxide back into the blood. This is my understanding of how the lungs work, but it would seem that by restricting the air movement, technically, even though you have to work harder to breathe through the mask, it would seem that it creates a greater vacuum in the lungs, drawing out more oxygen and carbon dioxide. And what I found more interesting as well was that whenever I was breathing harder, the force to expel the air to get another breath in tended to blow the mask off my face just a little bit, and it kind of tended to bypass the filtering effect and just shot out through the sides of my face. So the air restriction to exhale is not nearly as strong as the air restriction to inhale. And what happens in that case is that it tends to pull out of the blood oxygen and carbon dioxide. But when you're exhaling, first of all, there's a reasonable amount of oxygen here from breathing in through the mask, but the carbon dioxide has been diluted by the fresh oxygen. And when you exhale, not nearly as much carbon dioxide goes back in that came back out. So it is, in essence, making you breathe more efficiently. I would also recommend this video over here, which is quite interesting, quite fascinating. And this one in particular is a training video. The Navy shows crew members how to evacuate a submarine using the emergency buoyant ascent technique that they developed, or somebody developed. That is a rather interesting video to watch, and that just shows the permeability of the lungs to pass air. And the long and the short of it is that I was actually surprised to see the results of my little experiment with the O2 sensor that I have, with and without a mask, and in fact even going underneath that overpass. So that's it for the moment. Thanks for watching, and if you guys like this, let me know, and maybe I'll start making some videos again. But I kind of got tired of making these videos, particularly the ones about the flat earth. So I'll see you again in another video at some point. Bye for now.